Good evening, Moore County. Come on, I want to hear it one more time. Good evening, Moore County. Y'all caused us a lot of good problems, which was mostly we didn't have enough seats for many of you. So thank you so much for being here tonight. We are going to get started on this town hall. Appreciate you coming out tonight. The purpose of this town hall, that is hosted by many of lovely organizations you're going to hear from tonight, is to tell you about one thing and one thing only, which is what is happening at the North Carolina General Assembly in Raleigh. I already heard some groans. So we're going to get into it. One thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Olinda Watkins McShirley here in a moment to welcome us to the space, which is just to say this is a town hall, and we are hoping to hear from you. So if even the spirit moves you in the slightest to speak, start thinking about it now. I also want to point out one person to you, Lisette Rodriguez. Lisette? This is Lisette. Lisette has got the magical gray bag of mystery right here. If you, all of you on your seats have an index card and a couple of other cards. And we'll go over what that means in a moment. But at some point tonight, you're going to put those cards in the gray magic box of mystery. So you're just going to be looking for Lisette all night. But we'll get into that more in a moment. Now, I want to have our organizer extraordinaire, community leader, Ms. Olinda Watkins McShirley, to welcome us to the space.
I have to say, woo, too. Okay, y'all. Good evening. I am Olinda Watkins McShirley. Welcome to the hometown of my African ascendants, Native American ancestors, and other later European explorers put on us as they established my home in Carthage, the county seat of Moore County and the gateway to Western North Carolina and Tennessee. I am president of Moore County NAACP, which was formed almost 85 years ago. The branch is blessed with maybe over 100 members, black, brown, and white. This evening, we celebrate and educate about recent Supreme Court victory in the lawsuit called Moore versus Harper. And I'm going to say fired up, and y'all going to say ready to go. Fired up? Ready to go. Fired up? Ready to go. Oh, y'all sound wonderful. We invite you, we're invited by we invited our local officials, and we hope to tell them how important this victory is. Gino and Sella, you have met them, but they can stand up. Gino, Sella, you can stand. And they also have introduced some of the others. And their Common Cause team, if you all raise your hand, we appreciate all this. And Common Cause recognized a year ago about the dangerous precedent that this legal attack on democracy in North Carolina could set us. We are pleased, and then I just want to let the partners also stand or raise their hand. We have the New Rule Project. Woo! We have the League of Women Voters. Women leading for wellness and justice. And I think I'm leaving one off, and that is the new coalition that's just been formed here. And it's called the Sand Hills Coalition for Peace, Love, and Justice. Y'all know we are so fired up here, and I appreciate everyone coming out. We will probably introduce some other organizations that are here, but thank you so much for coming, and from the bottom of my heart, I love all of you all. Although we're in this battle, we're all together. Whether you like us or not, we're going to fight, okay? So I'm pleased to welcome Attorney Neil Katal, who represented us before the Supreme Court, winning. He's not quite here yet. So I'm gonna turn it back over. To Gino and Sella. Again, you all, let's do this again. I'm fired up. Ready to go. Fired up. Ready to got in.
Taylor, will you turn your camera on? All right, y'all, give us 1 second. Hello, Mr. Caglione. We are getting you set up. Can you hear us okay?
I can, thank you so much.
Wonderful. So we're going to introduce you again real quick, and then hand it over to you for a few minutes. Linda, you want to introduce him? Okay. All righty. As Miss Olinda was just telling y'all, about a year ago, we kicked off here in Moore County in Carthage a tour to go around the state and around the country to talk about the U.S. Supreme Court case Moore v. Harper. How many of you, raise your hand if you heard about that case? Yes. About everybody in the room. And now we want to introduce to you and give a few moments to speak to the lawyer who successfully argued this case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, Mr. Neil Caglione. I hope I'm saying your last name right, sir. But the floor is yours, and I want you to address the crowd, the very big crowd here in Moore County tonight. So let's give a round of applause for Mr. Caglione.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can we turn that down? We can hear you okay. We'll turn you down.
Wonderful. So I'm sorry I'm not with you in person. I would love to be. I'm actually doing a goodbye party here for some members of my team, my legal team, who are leaving to go clerk for various judges across the country. But it was a real privilege to work on this case on behalf of all of the North Carolinians. And that's how I saw the case. I never saw it as, the Republicans versus the Democrats. I saw this as a core constitutional question that, frankly, anyone who believes in democracy should have sided with us. It's surprising to me that the case even went to the Supreme Court, and of course many people thought we would lose the case at the Supreme Court. And I always thought this was winnable. And just in a moment here, I'm also being joined by my partner, Jess Ellsworth, who's been working on the case for a long time. The only reason she was on some is because she was busy making news of her own. She was defending the abortion drug the Circuit Court of Appeals and in the United States Supreme Court, and has successfully, at least for now, held off on the restrictions that organizations wanted to impose on the abortion drug. When we looked at the case, Moore versus Harper, we just immediately kind of understood what the conservative argument would be in favor of this view, because the Constitution's elections clause says that the times, places, and manners for federal elections shall be set by the state legislature thereof. The state legislature thereof. And so the argument that the Republican National Committee was saying was, well, it says state legislature, state courts don't mean state legislature. And as you may remember, what happened is the North Carolina Supreme Court said that in a 4-3 decision, that the gerrymandered maps that the state legislature had drawn, which were, basically 10 Republican seats and 4 Democratic seats, even though North Carolina, as we all know, is an evenly divided purple state. The North Carolina Supreme Court said that was unconstitutional under the state constitution, and so that led the Republican National Committee and others to try to bring this case to the Supreme Court to say state courts have no business doing what involved in any of this whatsoever. It's just up to the state legislature, which, by the way, is the same theory that Donald Trump and his team tried to use in 7 states, that state legislatures can throw out the popular vote altogether. It's a ludicrous theory. So that's what we argued to the court, with Jess's help. I think wrote a really convincing brief. And I think the most surprising thing about the case was that after the argument, which we felt like if you were a fair-minded observer, you would see that whole argument and you'd think we won, but everyone got cold feet. And then the North Carolina Supreme Court, which had a change in its membership, tried to pull back its opinion and say something else. And so everyone on our side then tried to get rid of the case and say, well, U.S. Supreme Court, you shouldn't decide this case, it's moot, and so on, because they were afraid. They thought that the U.S. Supreme Court was too biased against them. And we disagreed. And we told the Supreme Court, you should keep the case and you should decide it in our favor. Unfortunately, by a 6-2 decision, the court agreed with us on the merits, and then Justice Alito dissented on the mootness ground and said the court just didn't have power to move the case. But in the end, it was a real privilege to work on this on behalf of all North Carolinians and to work on it with Jess. Jess, you want to say something?
Sure, I'll just say this really was sort of the case of a life to get to work on and be part of really from day one. And I think watching our team dive into the historical arguments and really think through the mootness question in a way, I sort of think of Neil as he was like a skydiver up in the air, getting ready to jump and say, it's not moot, you should still decide. And we sort of looked around at our team and we said, that's right, and he jumped and said, it's not moot. And the court listened, and it really was a great moment and a great team for that reason.
And I think it just underscores, like, the Constitution is not a partisan document. It was given to us by our founders, and many number of criticisms of the founders, but they did understand something really important about separation of powers and checks and balances, and that everyone, all humans make mistakes. You know, as James Madison says in Federalist 51, men aren't dangerous. If they were, no government would be necessary. And so this case was really about that, about checks and balances. And yes, this time it meant the Republicans lost. But in another state, it could mean the Democrats would lose if they try and gerrymander a map or impose all sorts of polling restrictions or something that benefit them. So I've never thought of it as political. I think that's the right way to think about constitutional law as, you know, we say in law school, I teach my law since on day one, invert the parties and pretend that one party that's representing, you know, one side is actually on the other side and the like, and then would you come to the same results? And, you know, I think this is a good case that demonstrates sometimes the U.S. Supreme Court will also think that way. And it's a real danger to fall into the trap of thinking they're all so politicized that you can never get justice. So with that, I really want to thank you all for your support, for being here on a Monday afternoon evening, and I hope you have a great program out there.
Thank you. Before you go, hold on one moment. Before you go, he's gone. But anyway, we want to say it anyway because we could not pay the attorney for what he's done, but we just wanted to say thank you, we love you, thank you, we love you.
That is something we say in movement work.
Yes.
When we know we can't pay someone and they've dedicated their life to helping protect our democracy, we say thank you, we love you.
So we can do that again, y'all, because we know that's going to be on Zoom. So let's try that one more time. Thank you, we love you. Thank you, we love you. Gino.
Beautiful. Okay. And if y'all have any questions about the case, because I am not a lawyer, and I don't know how many of you are lawyers in this room, but we'll be having time to answer questions about the case here at the end, too. So, why are we here tonight, my friends? We are here to hold a town hall in Moore County because it has been a consequential session at the General Assembly in Raleigh, and we wanted to go around the state. We started in Mint Hill last Thursday in the Charlotte suburbs. We're here with you in Carthage tonight because we wanted to tell you about what's been happening, and we wanted to hear from you, both your perspective on the issues and questions that you have as well. So, to kind of set the stage for why we are here, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, okay? I want you to raise your hand if you are in this room and you want accessible health care, good health care. All right, that's most people. Raise your hand if you want your tax dollars coming back into your community. All right, wow, okay, we're a little unanimous. Raise your hand if you want clean air to breathe and safe water to drink. Okay, yeah, I can get behind that too. I would love some safe water. Raise your hand if you want excellent public schools for your children. Hell yeah, that's right.
Future.
Raise your hand if you want to be able to control your own future and control your own body. That's right. All right. And raise your hand, first and foremost, if you want to have a genuine voice in your government and your community's future. All right. So we're here because the majority of North Carolinians, regardless of your party, regardless of your zip code, want those things. I think we just proved that here in the crowd tonight. Now, there are a couple of bills, a couple pieces of legislation in the General Assembly that do the opposite of everything you just raised your hand for. Bills like Senate Bill 747 and 749. Raise your hand if you've heard those bills. We got a couple of people. Those bills are bills that are designed to make it harder to vote in North Carolina. They make it more complicated to use same-day registration, more complicated and restrict the period for mail-in ballots to come. Maybe most concerningly, propose to allow observers in the polling place more ability to move around as you're voting, which I can't imagine that anybody here wants someone peeking over their shoulders as they're voting. And it also creates division and gridlock within how our elections are structured here in North Carolina, in a way that through gridlock, because we know the parties can't agree on anything, might cut 90%, 95% of all our early voting sites. How many of you have voted on an early voting site in your county? Absolutely. A bill like Bill 749 creates a situation in which you might go from multiple early voting sites to one that's only open during weekdays and not open during weekends. And we're just talking about the flexibility to go vote when you need to and anywhere in the county. There are bills like SB 41 that removed some of the safeguards, some of the background checks that you might need to purchase a gun. There are bills like the North Carolina Farm Act, which I imagine concerns many of you here in Moore County, that removes some protections from our state's wetlands in a way that could damage the environment, leave us open to more natural disasters, and generally make our water not as clean to drink. And then there are things like the budget. How many of y'all have heard about the budget negotiations happening right now? That's right. What negotiation? That's right, because they're not in Raleigh. But this is at a time when families and communities are struggling across the state. Is that a fair statement to make? Yes. Many of us in North Carolina, if you're not in the Research Triangle or you're not in Charlotte, are struggling. A lot of our rural places are struggling. And one thing that is important that you all raise your hand about is making sure our tax dollars come back into our community and invest in our community. But what's being proposed in one of the state budget plans is a big tax cut that would benefit the richest 20% overwhelmingly in North Carolina. It would amount to reducing public funds that our state spends by $7.6 billion annually. Now, I want somebody to guess what the estimate would be of how much it would cost the state each year to end hunger in North Carolina. Guess how much it would cost? What was that? To end hunger in North Carolina. Make sure everyone had a good meal to eat. What'd you say?
I said less than $1 billion.
Less than $1 billion. Any other guesses?
Less than $500 million.
Less than $500 million. All right. Okay. It would cost, and this is on one of the sheets you can get when you come in here, it would cost us $776 million to end hunger in North Carolina. Wow. And the bill, the budget proposed by the Senate, reduces our public funds by $7.6 billion. Now, that's right, shame. Shame on that when our tax dollars could go to make sure that we all have a basic standard of living. Instead, they are cutting taxes for the wealthiest among us. So those are just a few of the things that are happening in the General Assembly. And we think it's important that you know about it and that you get a chance to voice your opinion about it. Now, we are a nonpartisan organization. Many of the people who are here tonight are. And so in the fairness of that, we invited everybody who represents Moore County to be here tonight and to hear from you. That includes Representative Ben Moss, Representative John Sauls, Representative Neil Jackson, and Senator Tom McInnes. Are any of the representatives here tonight? Please raise your hand if you are. I'm hearing crickets. Bueller? So we emailed them a couple weeks ago to invite them to this. We emailed them again this morning. We did not receive a response. So they are not here tonight to hear from you. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to hear you. Because what we're asking you tonight is not only to be here and to hear from some of the lovely organizations who are here, but if you feel so moved, we want to hear your perspective on the issues. And if you feel comfortable doing so, we are recording them back here. And our hope, just like we did in Mint Hill, just like we're going to do in High Point next week, and in places all across the state, is that we will record what you have to say, and we will make sure, right, Brian, that the lawmakers hear regardless. Is that something we can get down with?
That's right.
All right. So, I want to get into the event today. We're going to start with a few of the organizations who are just going to tell you a little bit about themselves and about more about the issues I just mentioned. But a couple of ground rules for how this event's going to go tonight. Like I said, we are nonpartisan organizations. When it gets the chance for you all to speak, if you're interested in speaking, everyone will receive 2 minutes to speak. This man right here, Bob Phillips, raise your hand. He will have a little clipboard for you to let you know when you're done speaking. And we welcome everybody to speak. All of you are a part of this community, not only here in Moore County, but in North Carolina. So even if you feel a little nervous, like you don't know the crowd, you don't know if you're going to maybe say something that might not be so popular, we want you to speak too. That is why we are here. That's why we drove here from Elizabeth City today, right, Sammy?
That's right.
So we want to make sure that we're nonpartisan. We want to make sure that we hold to the 2 minutes. And the question that we're really asking you to think about if you want to speak is, what do you want your lawmaker to know? That's the first thing. And the second is this question right here. Of what do you want the future of North Carolina to look like if it is different than North Carolina right now? Raise your hand if you want North Carolina to say exactly the same. All right, that means everybody here is going to be speaking, right? In just a minute. All right. So, I think those are all the ground rules that I wanted to set. And then one last thing before we get into it. If you are an elected official at the local level, or you are part of the community as a leader in some way, you're on the school board, you're a commissioner, I want you to stand up now. We want to acknowledge you in the room. Who is here? All right. Amazing. Yes. And now, if you are a candidate who's running for office, we also want to acknowledge you here as well. Please stand up and take a little wave to everybody. Now, reminder for our candidates, we do love you, but this is a nonpartisan event, so we ask that if you do want to speak, we just ask you to focus on why the issues that matter to you personally matter to you, and to keep that kind of within the 2 minutes tonight. So just wanted to make sure I said that from the top here too. And then finally, do we have any clergy members? Or if you just, why am I losing my words here? If you designate yourself as a community leader or you remember the clergy, please stand up now too. We'd like to acknowledge you. There we go. Thank you so much for being here. And with that, let's get this show on the road. First organization I want to invite up to talk to them a little bit about themselves and the issues they work on is our good friends at the New Rural Project. Miss Alexa, come on up.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you all so much for being here. We ran out of chairs, but there are a few more seats for those of you who are sitting around, and any of you who came in a little late. We've got Miss Lovely Lizette right here with the basket of information, so you can drop your cards right in there. I just wanted to remind you all about that. My name is Alexa Roberts. I am the program director at New Rural Project. New Rural Project is a nonpartisan nonprofit, and our main focus is on increasing civic and electoral engagement in communities of color in 7 rural counties here in North Carolina. New Rural Project was founded by Moore County's own Helen Probst Mills and Cynthia Wallace. Both of those women ran for office, one for Senate, one for Congress. While they were on the campaign trail, they met each other, had a few counties that overlapped, and despite the fact that they did not win their election, they knew that their work was not done. What they focused on first was voter turnout. And what we discovered was that there's a much lower rate, while the 2022 election, the 2020 election had historic numbers. That wasn't historic for everyone. So our communities of color are turning out to vote at much lower rates. So that was what we focus on. We do a number of different events. We do programs in barbershops and beauty salons. We have conversations about healthcare. We have conversations about a lot of things. We also have front porch conversations, and we go knocking on community members' doors to help them have all the information that they need to get out and vote. We are nonpartisan. We do not endorse any candidates, but we do want to make sure that folks get out to vote and have the information that they need. So we are currently running a voter purge phone bank on Thursday nights. If anybody is interested in doing that, please see me or my colleague Nisi there in the back. We would love to have you help making those phone calls to the over 290,000 people who were purged from the voter rolls this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our friends at New World Project. Next, we're going to call up our friends from Women Leading, Mujeres Liderando. Sorry, I got tripped up. Anna Blackburn, come on up. Tell us about yourself.
Buenas noches. I know I'm being tunneled into this real quick. I'm Ana y la Raza Blackburn, Afro-Latina, strong empowered woman. Women Leading, I am the founder and co-executive director. We just launched March. We are a new organization, but we are not new to the movement work at all. We have been on the ground for over 2 decades. As the executive director, I have been a part of NAACP, HKMJ, Moral Monday. I was appointed by Bishop Barber and our beloved T. Anthony Spearman as the first Latina immigrant liaison for the NAACP across the state. And for years, my job was to bridge Black and brown communities together. And during COVID, we realized the need that the community had in the communities, the lack of access to medical supplies. And so they called on me and said, put a team together. So we put a team together, and the team back here, Women Leading, they are fabulous. In 6 months, we were able to reach over 10,000 people in the Sand Hills area. So, absolutely, people were able to get access to the supplies they needed. So, Women Leading focuses on 2 programs. That is wellness. We define wellness as mental, physical, spiritual, however spiritual is for you, and daily access to resources that help individuals breathe and thrive. The other one, an advocacy of justice. We are constantly at the General Assembly in Raleigh, advocating with other organizations, fabulous organizations like Common Cause, to push back on bills that oppress our communities or that are a detriment to our democracy. So Women Leading is in the forefront when it comes to anything oppressive or anything that has to do with our democracy. Now, we understand after 2 decades, and I personally understand after 2 decades on the ground, that our country is still waiting to give birth to a true democracy looks like. So because of that, we will be in the forefront. And when you finish, if you could come back and sign in with us so that you can see what we're doing. Thank you so much.
I hope y'all are feeling the spirit. Get ready to speak yourself. Next, do we have somebody from the League of Women Voters of Moore County who's here to speak tonight? Thought I saw someone come in. Come on up, my friend. I know Joe Nicholas has some car trouble, so thank you for being here.
Well, the League has been advocating for voters for 103 years now, and we're not stopping. And we appreciate everybody's help. And a special shout out to Common Cause for all they do. I mean, that is so important. We have breathed many sighs of relief with the Morver v. Harper decision. I mean, that was pretty scary. So anyway, one of the things we want to do this fall is really concentrate on the municipal elections. You know, we put a lot of energy into the state, and we need to, because there are a lot of very disturbing things happening there. But elections are local too, and they really affect us. So we're hoping to do as many forums as possible. We've got 2 in the works right now, and we hope other communities will come forward and say, please ask the league to partner with somebody and do this. The other thing is gathering information about municipalities. We really don't know a whole lot of what, people are kind of ignorant about what goes on. And so we want to do that and disseminate that information and hope that that's going to make a difference too. So thank you for all that you do. I don't know if my colleagues want to say anything more, but anyway, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, League of Women Voters. We have 2, yes, go ahead.
Well, I'm one of Peggy's colleagues, and I would just say that Vote 411 is an online resource that people can go to for nonpartisan voter information, where you vote, information about candidates. So Vote 411.
That's right, Vote 411, nonpartisan, one-stop shop. All right, we got 2 more organization representatives you're going to hear from, and then we're going to turn it over to you. I think I saw someone coming in from the Sandhills Coalition for Peace, Love, and Justice.
Yes.
Come on through. Come on up.
Come on,
Give a little clap there.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. My name is Barbara Rothbind, and I am one of the co-chairs of the Sandhills Coalition for Peace, Love, and Justice. We were formed in response to the overt acts of hate and domestic terrorism that Moore County experienced in December of 2022. So we're a very new but nonpartisan organization as well. The NAACP and Sandhills Pride joined together with the Sandhills Jewish congregation to stand up against hate in Moore County. We decided that our mission was to educate through action. We have no intention of fomenting more hate with divisive language. Our goal is to make the haters, wherever they may be, realize that Moore County does not welcome them. We want to make it very clear that we will not be silent. Silence is complicity. Where we see hate speech of any kind, we will call it out and speak out against it. Our power is in our unity and our ability to be civil. So if you want to join us, we're here to support all of these other nonpartisan organizations, but we do have a sign-up sheet over here against the wall, so please feel free to sign up. We'd love to have you join us. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. We got one more organization here to speak tonight, talk to you a little bit about democracy and ways we can expand our democracy in North Carolina. North Carolina Voters for Clean Elections.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for having me. My name is Melissa Price Crom. I'm the director of the North Carolina Voters for Clean Elections, transitioning into North Carolina for the People. For the last 20 plus years, we've been the Pro-Democracy Coalition here in North Carolina, founded by our good friends in this room, Common Cause and League of Women Voters. So we do a lot of advocacy, legislative lobbying, things of that. And so what we decided was, in this time, the best defense is a good offense. So we've been putting forth our own blueprint for building a stronger democracy here in North Carolina, getting all y'all's input. We've gone around the state, collected ideas, and we've been revising this report every 2 years and then turning it into actual legislation. This year it was filed as Fix Our Democracy. We had versions filed that was called Fair Maps. And this is, like I said, we're at a tough time right now. But this is us putting forth our best, pro-democracy proposals. It's everything from improving the voter registration process to ensuring voting access, to protecting voting rights, to strengthening local election infrastructure, defending against election subversion. This is a new thing that came after 2020. Fun fact. North Carolina came together and actually created the first piece of legislation that dealt with preventing election subversion. We're also looking at ways for fair redistricting and equal representation. These are things like redistricting reform, electoral college reform, also looking at ways to heighten transparency and combat corruption. These are things like money in politics. And then lastly, to ensure fair and impartial courts. This is ways that we can look at our court system and build a fair court system. Thank you guys so much for having me. Lastly, I will say, I'm so excited to be a part of this great tour that you guys have put together. The reason why I stand here and fight for democracy is I'm a mom. We just talked about the need for public schools, and I can tell you firsthand, like my daughter didn't have a teacher for most of kindergarten, and she's struggling to learn how to read now, and it's not fair. So I really applaud everything everyone's doing here, and onward.
All right, you ready for the stars of the show?
Yeah.
Who are the stars of this show?
You are.
Y'all are. That's right. One quick note before we get started. There was a lot that you just learned about. So if you do have a question, make sure to write it on your index card. And when we get through speakers tonight, we're going to try to answer as many of your questions as possible with all the good folks that are here. Look for Lisette if you want to drop your question off. But now, I want to open it up to volunteers. If you have a testimony that you are wanting to speak tonight, an opinion on the issues or perspective you want to share, now is your time. Do not be shy. This is a friendly room. And again, we want to hear from you. Even though the representatives who represent this county could not come tonight, we are recording, and we want to make sure we capture what you think about these issues and send it directly to the lawmakers themselves. So, who would like to be that intrepid? Yes, come on through, sir. It's always good to be the first one. Then everybody wants to do it after that, right? Remember, get 2 minutes, look at the guy in front of you, ask you to speak from your personal about the issues that matter to you and why they matter to you. So come on through, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Oh, please state your name when you start as well.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Got more than that here. Good evening, everybody. All right. Well, my name is Malcolm Hall, and I live here in Carthage. And as you can tell, I can let you know what I have on my mind without this mic. Because for 30 plus years, what I used to do, I used to be a major league, college, and high school sports official. I can take anything you bring, and I can give it back. Okay? I'll be running for Carthage Board of Commissioners this November. I'll probably be the only guy that takes his glasses off so he can read, too. I've called Carthage home for 20 years. I appreciate the beauty of our town. I understand the challenges, but know how to best serve all the citizens of this town, not just downtown corridor. There are many parts of Carthage that get ignored because we're worried about whether we put plants in the potters out front. There's more to Carthage than the pots out front. I also believe in accountability. 1 minute. I believe in accountability and transparency. So being on the board is not a yes man. You got to be able to say no when it's required, when it affects you, and you. Okay? It affects me too, but I have to represent the citizens in this town. And that's why I'm running for Carthage Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Alrighty, y'all. Who would like to speak next? Don't be shy. And remember, we're talking about what do you want your lawmakers to know who aren't here tonight, about what you think about the issues, or maybe what you want the future of North Carolina to look like. Yeah, come on through. I loved your hair. I knew you were going to come up at some point. Please come on.
I wasn't actually planning this, but you know. My name's Mary Ellen Schuman. I actually live just over the border. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me now? Yeah. All right. My name's Mary Ellen Schuman. I live just over the border in Randolph County. I moved here in 2021 to start my dream ranch. I could have chosen any place in the United States to move to, and I moved here to North Carolina on purpose. Imagine my shock when we get to our first election, and I realized how incredibly difficult it is to vote here. I travel overseas, I work overseas, I was used to just signing off that, absentee vote, sending it in, maybe going to vote early, no problem. I get here and they want me to have a witness to my vote. I'm sorry, it's a private vote. I had to fly back from Bulgaria to here in order to cast my vote and then fly back from here to Bulgaria to finish working. This is unacceptable. Voting should be accepted, easy for everybody to do. It should not be something that you have to rearrange your entire life in order to do. This is a big issue to me.
That's right.
1 minute left, but I got nothing more to say. That was all I was going to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that. And just a heads up that if you are interested in all the things you need to know about voting, especially the new voter ID requirement, we've got materials on this table for you to take home tonight. Who would like to follow that up? I don't know if anyone here has gone to Bulgaria, but who would like to follow that up? Thank you for sharing as well. Mr. Simon, come on through.
All right.
I probably don't need a microphone. Can you hear me all right? Yes, sir. Listen, I know there's a lot of people here with a lot of ideas that need to get up here and share with us. So please don't hesitate to come up and speak. I promised Sailor that if nobody raised their hand, I would come up and speak. And you all have heard me speak enough, I'm sure. But I will say just a couple things. We're very grateful to have the school board here. Thank you guys for being here. We're also grateful to have some other candidates, and thank you all for stepping up and running. As a former candidate, I know how difficult it is, and I know what it takes, and we very, very much appreciate you volunteering to give your time and your effort and your services to Moore County. So thank you all for running. I'm up here to talk really from a nonpartisan point of view. I should probably take my little badge off, but Sailor and Gino are talking about all these issues. There are so many important issues that not only affect us at the federal level, the state level, but also at the county and municipal level. There are all of these things such as, we have got a fight coming up in the next year, and it is so important that we make sure that every single person who can vote votes, that every voice is heard, that we have the opportunity to talk not only to our legislators, but to talk to each other about the things that are important to us in our lives. Because if we don't vote, we don't get to complain.
That's right.
And if we vote, we get to complain, and there's a lot to complain about. So we have to redouble our efforts. We have to get out and be strong. We have to get out and we have to beat doors. We have to beat pavement. We have to make phone calls. There's a lot of work to do. And again, I'm not saying this on a partisan basis. I'm saying this for everyone. Everyone needs to vote. We don't need municipal even candidates who are voted in because they got 30 votes, and that happens. Or statewide elections that are decided by 10 votes per precinct. It's crazy. So let's get out and finish what we started. Thank you.
Yes, please come on up, sir. We're cooking now, yeah. Thank you, sir.
My name's John Miziak. I have a couple of constant problems. Number one is our state and our local government needs to better fund our schools. We rank in the bottom 10 nationally in terms of school funding. Okay. Second thing is, one of my big issues is water here in Moore County. We have something like 11 different water authorities, Cameron, Carthage, Taylortown. Each one has Pine Bluff. Many of them have had their problems. Somehow, my recommendation would be that Moore County should have one water authority. Everybody is serviced by that water authority, everybody pays the same rate, which they don't. So if you happen to agree with that, contact your county commissioners. Next thing, we need better jobs and more of them in Moore County. 1999, they were talking about the need for an industrial park in Moore County somewhere. You need water and sewer for that. Here in 2023, we're still talking about a need for an industrial park. Many of you have read about what's happening in Lee County, in Chatham County, in Randolph County. It's not happening in Moore County. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Oh, we got someone right here, and then we'll get to you next, sir. Come on through.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Galen Miller. I have a farm in Vass. And first of all, I want to express my gratitude for the civic activism that I see here today and the people that have put this together. But I'm looking for educated voters. I have a lot of friends who are locked in to voting the way they've always voted. And some friends of mine in Arizona started something called Project Vote Smart. And they created a website that you can go to called votesmart.org. You can put in the name of any state legislator or federal legislator and get their entire voting record. You can get to their platform that says what they're going to do, and then you can actually see what they do and what they have voted on. So I hope you'll all keep in mind votesmart.org.
Thank you. That is very good to have, because I'd very much like to know what the 4 folks who didn't come tonight, what their record is on keeping our water clean. And as one of you put in your questions, addressing the shortage of teachers, making sure we have good schools. I'd love to know their voting record. But we've got a gentleman coming up to the front here, and he will be speaking next. I was about to say your name, and then I realized I do not know your name. So you will tell us in a moment. Come on.
Hello, you all. I am George Wilson. I am a candidate for mayor here in Carthage. There is a pressing issue that is on my heart, and it goes to what the gentleman has shared with you. There are no jobs that provide a living wage here in Carthage. There's too many of my peers and folks that have come behind me that have chosen to leave Carthage to find gainful employment. My grandchildren are here with me. I would love for them to be able to call Carthage home for the rest of their lives. Another thing that's an issue for me is affordable housing. Folks, there was at one point I was on the Board of Commissioners here in Carthage, and it was brought to my attention that our clerk had to live out of town because she could not afford a place here in Carthage. Maybe she could have afforded one, but was it adequate housing? We need to work to see that there are homes that families struggling can afford. That's all I have.
And just before the next person comes, let me ask, how many of you, when you go to the ballot box in 2024, are going to be voting for people who want to increase affordable housing? Raise your hand. All right. That's why it's important that we're voting and we're here. Come on through.
Go ahead, Queen.
I'm Kathy Nepton from Vass. I'm a retired teacher at the high school level. And I think it's safe to say that none of us that go into education do so because we think we're going to make a lot of money. We go into teaching because we love learning, we love to pass that on and to open the minds of young people. And we spend a lot of time being prepared in our subject area. So it is very disturbing to me as a former teacher that I see the ability for a trained professional to be curtailed in what they are able to do to help kids become lifelong learners, not indoctrinate, but to open their minds to all kinds of different perspectives, to understand history, and, as they say, not to repeat it, but rather to be the people that move to make a difference in the world. So to be restricted on what they can see, what they can read, and what they can do is, for me as a former educator, is really discouraging. Thanks.
Olinda Watkins, and what would I want the future of North Carolina look like? I would like, for one thing, that almost half a year ago, wherein we had 56,000 former incarcerated were able to register and vote. I would like that to come back, and that would, because that would encourage a lot of people to get back onto the voting process. I would like to say that we would love to have something to come back and those people to be put back on the roll. And also with our education, I would say that I would like for our Board of Education to let our teacher teach, because they're putting so many different strains on our teachers until we are losing our teachers here in Board County and probably across North Carolina. So those are the two things that I can think of with the minute that I have left. And also with the voter ID, I would like to say that we should have what we call no photo voter ID. We will be going to court on Wednesday in Greensboro, and hopefully the forward justice firm will be arguing, either they will be doing a deposition. I forget the language of the law, Al, you have to help me. But anyway, we will be going to Greensboro tomorrow, and the forward justice firm will be sending their deposition in front of the judge, saying that we should not have the voter ID should not be, that we should just not have the photo ID. Just continue the way we are, what we are doing now. So that is all right now.
Thank you, Ms. Olinda. All right, Mr. Lewis, come on up next.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Lewis. Under Governors Hunt and Sanford, 40 years ago, we had the opportunity to be the new Hollywood. Dina De Laurentiis built a studio in Wilmington. We had the North Carolina School of the Arts that was supposed to channel people into the arts, and instead they have to go to New York and California. I myself was a labor reporter for two Hollywood guilds, the Directors Guild of America and the Editors Guild, for 20 years. And I had to commute from my house in Pinehurst to New York. I ended up driving because the plane transportation was bad. I ended up commuting and do a 10-hour drive, staying over, because there wasn't any work in Wilmington. I would speak to Harris Blake, I'd speak to George Little, I'd speak to these people. They didn't want a film industry here because they thought it was immoral. They don't want ideas in this assembly. We have productive people. We have gifted people in this community. The woman who spoke, Mary Ellen Shulman, has a wonderful exotic zoo up there. We have talented people come in here, and they have to be heard that they're sophisticated, multi-talented, and they don't care about somebody's private life. Thank you.
Let me just ask y'all a question really quick. A lot of you were concerned about public schools. How many of you had a teacher when you were growing up who encouraged you to be an independent and critical thinker? That's right. That's right. And how many of you got to go to a public school that had resources? All right. There are two major bills in the General Assembly right now. Ones that I think you should ask the representatives who are invited here tonight about. One that would do, just as you said, ma'am, curtail what could and couldn't be taught just because someone decides what can and can't be taught, rather than promoting a free exchange of ideas and critical thinking. And another bill that would take, through the expansion of charter schools in this state, $250 million away from public schools. Y'all heard about that one? Yeah. Absolutely. So it's not only about an assault on what we can think and what we can talk about, but it's the true defunding of our public schools that is taking place. That's an important thing for us to talk about. And sir, I know you are on the school board. If you are interested in speaking and coming and speaking, you're welcome at any time. I won't put you on the spot, but the invitation is welcome to you. Because a lot of folks here seem to be real concerned about public schools, and we'd love to hear from you.
Come on down.
We had made you stand up and down so many times, we figured we should just bring you up here at this point. Thank you, sir.
My name is Bob Levy. I'm chairman of the Board of Education of Moore County. I have Pauline Bruno here, who is a member of the Board of Education, and Philip Holmes, who's a member of the Board of Education. The one thing we want to tell you here today is we may have some disagreements here with you. And I know that you have some disagreements with some of our positions. But we are here, and we're here to listen to you. And I want to hear your ideas. We do need greater funding in the public school system. I'm a product of the public school system. I went to Moore County Schools and graduated Pinecrest High School. Among the things that we're doing in the public school system, we are actually working together with the Chamber of Commerce on workforce housing. Because if you really want to know the truth about why we lose many teachers who want to come to Moore County, it is that they cannot afford the housing. So they wind up going to Lee, they wind up going to Richmond, they wind up going to Montgomery. Okay. So that is important, and hopefully we can all solve that problem together. Teaching children to be critical thinkers, that is important. That is extremely important. And we have an initiative to require children to read at least 4 books each year between grades 2 and 10, because we really need for them to learn how to read. But we're not saying what they want to read. Okay. What we are saying is we want them to read, and we want them to learn about critical thinking and the like. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I know I only have 2 minutes here, but I will stick around for as long as is necessary, if not here at the podium, because I don't want to hog the time of the podium, then after we're done. So, thank you.
Well, friends, as Sailor Jones likes to say, we are getting to the short road. Oh, are you okay? Sorry for all the as Sailor Jones likes to say, we are getting the short rows, friends. We'd like to be with you here all night, but we can't keep you here all night. So before we get into some questions that people have that they want to ask either some of the organizations here or some of the officials who are here, is there anybody else that feels moved to speak? We want to make sure everyone gets a chance to do so. Yeah, please feel free, sir. Come on up. We're not trying to make an obstacle for us, I promise.
I'm Jim Simeon, and I'm a retired educator. I was teacher, assistant principal, basketball coach, football coach, or whatever, and whatever else went on, I was part of it. So I say that just from the standpoint that why in the world I cannot understand that people are thinking in the General Assembly, why would we want to fund charter schools and private schools? It does not make any sense to me. Those sources have their funding source, and therefore they should be allowed to use that funding for that, but not what we have as that's collected by taxpayers. It does not fit at the state level, nor does it fit at the local level. That's what I want to say.
Thank you, sir. And did I miss anybody raise their hand is on this side? You want to come up? All right, we'll get right after, Alexa, right after our friend here. And please don't trip, man. I'm so sorry for all the cords. Come on through.
I'm Ellie Collins, and of course I believe in a strong public school system. I would be more than happy to pay more in taxes to see our children well educated. It's of primary importance to me. But the other thing is we cannot have fair elections until we eliminate gerrymandering. We have to have an unbiased opinion on this. We can't let our politicians choose their districts. We have to change this gerrymandering. It's of utmost importance. So please talk to your legislators about that.
Thank you. And I just want to say to that point, because all of us in this room, we all raise our hands that we want a good public schools, right? Yeah. So why are our lawmakers doing something that's pretty much universally popular in this state? Because those districts are gerrymandered. That's exactly right. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Come on through, Alexa.
I'm going to cover up my New Rural Project thing. I'm also not wearing a hat as a village council person, but I am here. What I would want our state legislators to know is that they have introduced a lot of legislation this session that aims to strip local municipal authority from being able to control growth, our ETJs, our extraterritorial jurisdictions. They have a bill that would force every municipality to allow for an accessory dwelling unit to be placed on a person's property, regardless of what that house has perked for in the realtor world. So when we are looking for our legislators to represent us, we have found that our local town councils that have all passed resolutions on up to the General Assembly, they don't listen to the elected officials, but they do listen to private citizens. So we want you to call them and reach out to them. I also want to know from our state officials why they are not funding the Leandro plan that went to court and was won not once, not twice, but 3 times. They have a coffer of money sitting up there at the General Assembly that would actually fund years 2 through 8 of the Leandro plan, but they are refusing to let that go. They can fund our schools and they can fund them well. Charter schools have a wonderful place. They should be our public schools, alternative schools, to be able to provide different things that our traditional public schools cannot. But we cannot take the money from our traditional public schools to fund those charters or private schools. So let's talk to our legislators. They need to hear from us. They need to hear from you. Call them, write them a letter. Don't sign a chain email. Call them. Thank you.
All right. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I almost think I'm one of the lawmakers here that y'all are talking to. I'm starting to feel it. All right, folks, we are getting closer to the end. I know we've got some questions, but one last call. If you want to speak tonight and share your perspective, sounds like we've got someone coming up. All right. This will be our last person before we close with some questions, unless Spirit really moves someone else, and I can always make exceptions. When you're the moderator, you get to do what you want. Go ahead.
I'm Marion Johnson. I'm from Whispering Pines. Yeah, Marion Johnson, Whispering Pines. I was sure hoping someone else would bring this up. It's a question. I do not understand, it's on my card here, why we can't get sensible gun control legislation. Sensible. I'm going to say sensible so that people will be more willing to listen to it. But it is the #1 killing of death of our children and our teenagers and suicides. And so red flag laws are so many things that they won't put through that I just asked my people who weren't here, why can't we get it through? That's my question.
All righty. I'm scanning the crowd, making sure I don't see anyone else coming up. You want to come up? Sailor? All right. All right, Sailor's got something he wants to say. to y'all here. Come on through.
I'm not from around here. I'm not from Moore County, but it seems like it. Ever since 2012, I recognize some people in the audience. When I think about what do I want the future of North Carolina to look like, I want it to look like Moore County. In 2012, I ran across the state to defeat Amendment 1, and I remember some of my friends in the third row at an event in Whispering Pines to fight back against it. And while we did not defeat it then, we defeated it the next year the way we know how, by educating and being visible. Next up, we had HB 2 to fight, and we beat that back too by the same visibility we started in Moore County with Amendment 1. Moments later, we wanted to build a moral movement across the state, and where did we start it? I'll give you a hint, Moore County. With some McShirleys over here and a little bit of everybody in this room. Next up, when we wanted to fight a racist and discriminatory voter ID law, where do you think that started as well? I'll give you a hint. No, I don't have to. Go ahead. Moore County. And then finally, when we wanted to defeat Moore v. Harper and make our voices heard all the way up to the Supreme Court in a case called Moore v. Harper, where did we start that tour? I'll give you a guess. It was Moore County. So when we fight back against folks like Cleta Mitchell, who are registered to vote in Southern Pines, who want to instill in us doubt in our elections, who want us to stay home in 24, much less 23, and when we want to build a movement to fight back, I'm going to look around the state, but I'm not going to find any better than Moore County. And so when we ask you to come back and educate the entire state about all these changes we're anticipating to our laws, and even some of the gerrymanders that we may not be able to defeat immediately, but we will defeat it together, because the future of North Carolina looks like what? Moore County. That's right.
Well, I think that is a fitting place to close our testimony, and I know we've got questions. I know you were raising your hand earlier to ask a question of our member of the school board. If you'd like to, this is now the time to ask some questions of what you heard tonight. And if you are a member of an organization or elected official, please feel free to answer and speak as you will. So come on through.
Well, I'd like the school board to do its job, and I don't think the job is to be in the classroom telling the teachers how to teach. When you decide that demanding the teachers require 4 book reports a year from students, you are saddling those teachers with extra work. And you're not giving them any extra pay to do it. And it is not the way they say is the way to teach our kids to read. One of the things you can do is stop even talking about banning books. To read more, just fill the libraries with Judy Blume.
Part of our strategic plan, ladies and gentlemen, part of our strategic plan, which I wrote, okay, is one of those goals is to make sure that our underprivileged students are raised in terms of what is called the education gap. Okay, the education gap is what the general student body achieves, and versus what our lesser and more challenged students achieve. One of the problems and I agree, I'd love to see a lot more Judy Blume books in our libraries, okay? But one of the problems is that our better students read a lot of the books. One of the goals of this program is to get our challenged students to read more books. And one of the problems is We need to challenge the students. So this program, and people call it, you have to do book reports, okay? This is not about book reports. This is about reading books. Because especially when our lower income students read more books, they become more successful. And there is a stratus, okay, of our better educated, higher socioeconomic students who read more and do more. And this is aimed at every student. And some of those students, unfortunately, are overlooked. One of the other things that I'm doing is I'm trying to get what is called an IEP coordinator. An IEP coordinator is an individualized educational plan coordinator. That is for a person to take from the teachers the burden of taking disadvantaged students and educationally challenged students and having to do what is called this individualized educational plan and putting all sorts of people in the same room. It's a big challenge for teachers. We want to relieve teachers of that. So what? So the teachers can teach. We want to let the teachers teach. And by relieving them of the burden of doing a lot of paperwork, we can get them to teach. Unfortunately, and this is kind of bubbling up, our socioeconomic disadvantaged students sometimes read at only about 25% and some less of that group at grade level. We have to raise that. And that is part of the strategic plan that is in Moore County schools, and I'm proud to have done that. So I thank you.
Yes, please feel free to come on up, and Bob will go back in 2 minutes. Yes, you're welcome to come up after as well. Yeah, we'll get back to time. Thank you, sir.
Coalition for Peace, Love, and Justice. We have to have justice in the classroom. Pre-K is essential. Do you know what I'm talking about? Get the kids into school on a more level playing level. An affluent family can provide so much before that kid even gets into kindergarten. Let's have pre-K throughout North Carolina.
I'm a native of Moore County, and I lived in Ohio for a number of years and taught school there until I went to law school. I've been subbing since I've retired, and please stop thinking all you got to do is make a rule to get somebody to do something. You want to make a rule to make kids read. We'll get kids interested in reading. You don't have to make a rule.
Respond real quick. Sir, do you want to come up?
But real quick, if you want to get kids to read, we've got a lot of volunteers here, okay? Pauline Bruno has a program where you can come and volunteer in the schools. You get a background check, you volunteer in the schools, you go through a little training, and you can tutor our students. That's another program. Pauline Bruno, please see her if you're interested in that, because the key to learning, whether you're liberal or conservative, and I'm going to tell you, you understand, I think most of you are liberals. I'm a conservative. I understand that, okay? But we're here to listen to you, and we want you to get involved in our Moore County schools, so don't forget to see Pauline Bruno.
And friends, I would just say, I know we would be able to go back and forth a lot on this tonight. I know the chair of the school board has said he will stay here after the event. So we're going to have these two folks speak real quick, and then Mr. Lewis, and then we're going to start bringing things to a close and encourage you to find him here after the event to keep talking. So come on up, y'all.
I am a retired educator, a special educator. What I need for the school board to understand is that a child struggling to read will not want to read. We have to emphasize teaching the child before we force them to Put books in front of them. You cannot make a child read if they can't do it. They won't want to do it. You have to entice them by teaching them.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Burke, and I'm a resident of Southern Pines. I'm not an educator, but I have 2 kids who went through the public school system here and graduated. And I just want the school board to know that by making them read 4 books a year, that's not going to teach a kid to read. But more importantly, you're avoiding the subject of banned books. I'm sorry, this infuriates me. Banning books is not teaching a kid to think critically. It's not teaching a child to be tolerant of one another who might be different from them. Okay? I don't know what you're trying to hide and why you're not letting these kids read these types of books. This is our society. We are black, we are white, we are Asian, we are yellow, we are transgender, we are gay, we are lesbian. Come on, this is society. This is what the kids need to know about. So by banning books, you are squashing them. You are squashing their right to learn what it is to live in a society, to live in the United States of America, and in our wonderful Moore County. So you need to think about that.
Let me also say, just listen to me for a second. Just 1 second. This gentleman is correct. We do teach kids how to read. How do we do that? We have a brand new program which we spent over $1 million on in Moore County called the Letters Program. It is part of a state program to learn how to read using the science of reading. We also have a program called iReady. iReady is one of the best tools we have ever had. And by the way, we have in our libraries, I just made sure that every time I go to a library, I make sure that some of our selections of books look like this group here. And anyone who has ever seen me go through a school library talking to our media directors, let them know that that's there. By the way, I just noticed we have books from all different types, and that includes, we have a history from Abraham X. Kendi, okay, that is in our Union Pines High School, and we have other books from other authors. The idea is without vulgarity and without perverse vulgarity, we want to teach children how to think. Okay? And we want them to think independently, and we want them to think critically. And we want to make sure, by the way, that our schools are open to all. So I want to tell you, we will let the teachers teach, okay? And once again, I don't want to hog the mic, and I will be happy to talk to you. Independently. Just remember one thing. We're here, and we're here to listen as much as to speak. And so your opinions are valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All righty, y'all. Come on, you two come on up. We're going to give y'all 1 minute each because we're getting close to when we got to be out of this building, so feel free to come up. But I will say, this is what democracy looks like. All right?
I don't believe this lie they say about African American students read less than whites. The greatest literature we have today is produced by African American writers. And yet, a Nobel Prize winner, Toni Morrison, they go after the bluest eye. These people are liars. I want black students to read black literature, and I want Hispanic literature in there. I don't want white literature.
Come on, all right. You have the honor of closing us out. So, come on.
Okay, hi, my name is Pauline Bruno. I'm going to be really gross. You know, saying that we want to ban books, oh, that is the furthest thing from the truth. I'm just, could you let me finish, please? There are certain books, yes, that we don't want in the library. I'm going to tell you, would you give me a second?
You reached maturity 60 years ago.
Oh, okay. Let's make sure we keep it respectful, y'all. Please finish.
Okay.
And we'll go through
All
this.
right. Some of these books, the ones that we want to get rid of, they are in our middle schools. These are the language in some of the schools. And I'm really going to be gross now, so, okay? Do you know how to eat pussy? Well, if you don't know how... Okay, and then from there, it goes on and on. It talks about the sexual act being wet, being ready. I told you, it's gross. Okay.
Yeah, please let her talk, y'all. And then
Okay. Come on, we ask these people to respond, let them respond.
Okay, and Linda, you're right. You said to me, that's enough. It makes everybody uncomfortable, and we're a room of adults, but we have this in our school libraries, in our middle schools. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. I just don't think that our children need to be reading words like this. We also have a book that says, and this is really disgusting, it says the American, okay, I'll finish. Okay, the African Americans were formed because the Indians, the Indians effed the buffalo. Now, do you want your children reading this? We are not banning books. Stop that. We are not. You can go to your local library. You can go anywhere you want and buy it. I'm just telling you what's in these books. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, folks. Well, it is 8 o'clock, and we can't stay much longer because they are not going to let us stay in the building beyond what we reserved to it. But I do want to say that what you have all heard tonight are a lot of different opinions on a lot of different issues. And like I said, I know it sounded kind of cheeky, but this is what democracy looks like. Yeah. Good. That's right. Let's clap around for that. And I want to remind you of something, because each of you have an opinion on these issues. And the people who need to hear it are not only your school board members, but who, Sailor? These folks. And were any of them here tonight to hear what you thought? No. So what I want you to do right now as we close out, we got a couple things. One, I want you to take a photo of this slide. As Alexa told you, if you are concerned and you are disappointed that they were not here tonight to hear what you think, we want you to let them know. So first things first, please take a photo of this if you don't already have their contact information. Second, while they were not here to hear what you think about really important issues of how your children get educated, it's because in part, they are working to pass a bill that would take $250 million from your public schools and make this debate moot. Is that right? So we might not be getting to have this debate about what we're teaching if we don't have public schools. Sorry, my voice is cracking. If we don't have public schools that our kids can go to. And in 2024, how many of you are going to go vote, no matter which way, based off the quality of your kids' public schools? That public schools are on the ballot for you in 24. Raise your hand if that's true. How many of you are going to bring 5 friends to go with you to vote in 2024 as well? That's right. We don't care how you vote. We want you to vote, and we want you to bring everyone you know to vote, because everyone at least gets a chance to tell these folks what they think about the issues one way or another. All right? And Ms. Olinda's going to come here in a moment just to close us out, but I want to make sure all of you should have had on your seats a couple of different cards. You had a blue card, red card, a couple different stuff. Hold it up if you still have it. There's a couple important things in there that we want you to fill out. One, if you are willing, we want you to fill out what issues are most important to you that we've talked about tonight. We are collecting that in the basket here. And even more importantly, there's a little prompt there for you that says, what do you want the future of North Carolina to look like? If you didn't get a chance to speak tonight, but you've got something to say, we really, really would be grateful if you'd fill that out, because we're combining it with responses we're getting from Mint Hill last week to High Point and Gibsonville and Kannapolis and all the places we're going to across this state, because we want to know what North Carolinians actually want for their future. And spoiler, we all agree on a lot more than we think we do. All right? So with that, Olinda, please close us out tonight. I know you have one thing you want to close us with. We appreciate you. Oh, also I'm so sorry. I have your questions. We are going to make sure those questions get shared with your legislators as well. So they are all in my hand right here. I just want to make sure y'all knew that.
Okay, y'all. I told you I was fired up, and I see y'all are fired up too. So we are so ready to go here in Moore County. But I just wanted to say, I was watching the movie Till, and you all know about Emmett Till. And then it really, really spoke to me to bring this to the close here of this event. And Gino and Taylor, you all, I appreciate whatever you all are doing. And you all can call on Moore County at any time. You know, we'll be the first one to say yes. Although the organization, they'll fall in line there and say, oh, Linda, what you getting us into now? But anyway, that's the way we roll. But Emmett Till's mother said, and you know about him being lynched in Mississippi. So she said something like this: when something happened to a Negro in the South, she said that she thought that it didn't bother her. It was not any of her business. And then she found out that when her son was killed, she found out, she said, now I know I was wrong. And the lynching of her son, she said, the lynching of my son has shown me that what happens to any of us in anywhere in the world has better be the business of us all. So I just want to let y'all know that, you know, a lot of things goes on in North Carolina, Florida, and don't think that it won't happen here in North Carolina, Moore County. It will. So we have got to remember that whatever happens somewhere else, it can happen to us all. So that is my closing again. Gino, thank you. I do want to say that I appreciate Al McShirley, my husband. We've been married 7 years yesterday. So, and I also like to say I thank all my jailbirds who are here tonight. So, you all who was arrested from Moore County, please stand up. We had said that we would not get arrested again, but of course you know Wah has been arrested twice, I think maybe 3 times. But I do again say to everybody, thank you to the coalition, all the work that you all got your information out to your membership. Thank you so much. This is a great crowd, you all. And I want to say thank you. I love you.
Make sure to drop your cards off on the set before you go. Get some food, get some resources about the General Assembly, and get home safe. Thanks, y'all. Thank you for being here. I'll take that. I can take all of them. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.